Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Good morning. It is 6:06. Thanks so much for hanging out with us this morning. It's O'Connor and Company. Got a great lineup today. At 6:35, we'll talk to our friend Cal Thomas. At 7:05, James Rosen on who's running the country. At 7:35, best-selling author Peter Schweitzer on Tim Waltz's trips to China. And at 8:05, we'll talk to Brad Thor. He's the author of a new book, Shadow of Doubt. At 8:35, Governor Scott Walker on the new Reagan movie. I'm Julie Gunlock alongside Larry O'Connor. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, Julie. The reinvention of Kamala Harris continues right before our very eyes, and it's really something to behold. Despite her strident lurch to the left on economic issues, bringing in sort of Kamala Marxism in her price gouging diatribe on Friday, suggesting price controls that even the Washington Post suggested maybe is a bridge too far for leftists in this country. She's now decided to lurch back over to the right with a fascinating leak to Axios, a media-friendly organization out there, a left-wing friendly media organization. The headline, Harris flip-flops on building the border wall. I mean, honestly, you'd think of all of the issues that she would not touch and pretend that she aligns with Donald Trump on. You would think the border wall would be it.
Yeah, you would think, but no.
The lead paragraph, if she's elected president, Kamala Harris pledges to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on the wall along the southern border, project she once opposed and called un-American during the Trump administration. In fact, here's a little sampling of all the things that Kamala Harris has said about a border wall between the United States and Mexico.
This administration has decided to vilify them and to trade on them for the sake of this president's medieval vanity project called a wall. I'm not going to vote for a wall under any circumstances. He has decided to vilify immigrants and put his whole political strength around a vanity project called a wall, which would cost taxpayers of America billions of dollars. And by the way, that wall will never get built. That wall ain't gonna stop them. No.
I do like the last one there where she gets to change her voice and accent. That wall ain't gonna stop them.
Right. This is the third rail. You don't talk about their walls are, as she said, medieval, inhumane. Right. You don't talk about this. It's just not going to happen. And now, it's just so easy with how she sort of flip-flops.
Well, it's easy because she knows that nobody will hold her accountable. Yes. You know, the Axios article almost marvels at her hypocrisy and audacity. Not to mention the dichotomy here between herself and her past data positions and her own running mate, let's not forget.
And I think seeing a plan that's out there, talking about it with folks, knowing that he's not going to do anything. He talks about this wall. I always say, let me know how high it is. If it's 25 feet, then I'll invest in the 30-foot ladder factory. That's not how you stop this.
There you go.
So funny.
But nope, about 3 weeks ago when Kamala Harris stole the Trump idea of banning taxes or doing away with taxes on tips, J.D. Vance, the Republican running mate, put out a tweet that said, Kamala Harris will soon propose that we finish the border wall and make America great again. And, I mean, he called it. So, of course, yesterday at a Michigan rally, he had to up the predictions here about Kamala Harris.
But I read a story this morning that her advisors are considering just copying all of Donald Trump's policies. They're more popular. In fact, I've heard that for her debate in just a couple of weeks, she's going to put on a Navy suit, a long red tie, and adopt the slogan, Make America Great Again.
Now he has to go to wardrobe now because any other audacious copycat move that Harris could make or be predicted, she probably will do. In fact, this is even a bigger walk back than the wall. And let me be clear, because we keep saying Kamala Harris reverse, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris hasn't said a damn thing about any of these things.
Well,
except the tax on tips. Everything else is just leaked from staffers.
That's right. And you know what? It's so interesting. In a new campaign ad, they actually used footage of the wall that Trump built.
Right.
I mean,
right.
they're so
to tout her success on the border.
the audacity. There's no shame. But what Biden and what the media doesn't ask Kamala Harris to also comment on is the fact that 320,000 immigrant children have gone missing.
Are missing
Under Biden and Kamala, Biden and Harris. It is sickening.
Here's the calculation. She thinks that by now saying that she supports a wall or that she'll sign a bill authorizing, and just so you know, the strings attached to that money to build the wall are like, manila ropes, okay? Sure, she'll sign a bill authorizing hundreds of millions of dollars for a border wall if you grant amnesty to the 20 million illegal immigrants that are already in this country.
Right.
I mean, that's what's really going on here, and that's exactly once she gets elected, if she thinks she's going to get elected on this, is what's going to happen. But she thinks by saying this, of course I support a border wall, we need border security, that will, I guess, erase any question about her disastrous handling of this policy for the last 3.5 years that, yes, results in over 300,000 children missing right now. God, pray for those children, because Lord knows the horrible lives that they're leading right now because of Kamala Harris's policies. But then later in the day, they put this one out. The staffers for Kamala Harris's campaign now claim that she doesn't support an electric vehicle mandate. But the Biden administration's EPA just 4 months ago implemented new regulations converting half of all new car sales to electric by 2030, which is part of what Gavin Newsom's been doing in Kamala Harris's California. Now they're claiming she doesn't support. And even though it's something the government she currently works in is doing, and she led the charge with.
And again, as you say, it is a leak from a staff member. It is some source saying it. It's not from her mouth. It's not her also as vice president urging her own administration to ease up on this.
And of course, she never likes to talk about what she's done as vice president.
Right.
So okay, let's go back to when she was a senator. She co-sponsored the Zero Emissions Vehicle Act of 2019 that contained a requirement for car manufacturers to sell nothing but zero-emission vehicles by 2040. She co-sponsored that bill. So again, Dana Bash, I hope you're taking notes here. It's going to be a long list. Were you wrong then, or are you wrong now? What have you learned? Were you naive? Did you not have all the facts? Why would you co-sponsor a bill that now you say you don't support just 4 years later? And by the way, if we can go to cut 4, she's always so brilliant at talking about electric vehicles and about mandates and things like that.
This is great.
Let's remind everybody how adept she is on this issue.
See, it's plugged in, so is it plugged into just a normal electric socket, right?
Yes, normally it's a 240 volt, but you can go ahead and plug in, and
okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we are.
That's it.
And there's no sound or fume.
There is nothing.
Yeah.
Now, I need you to know
That's
something.
all
If
there
we can
is.
pause here for a second. While she's charging a car, she has plugged it in with the plug, and then she's standing there holding on to the connector like it's a gas pump, like she has to keep her hand on the handle.
Right.
If you live anywhere other than Oregon and
She
New
doesn't
Jersey, where
need
you're
to
not
know-
you're not technologically allowed to do that.
Has she
because of
even
those-
driven herself in the last 30 years? This reminds me of that famous video of the person showing the electric car that's plugged in, and the reporter asks, well, that plug, where's that electricity come from? And it comes from a coal plant down the road.
Right. It's all clean energy. Really, where's the electricity come from? Oh, the coal plant up the road. Exactly. Oh, we get it from that plant over there where we're just burning, as much carbon as possible, and also dead puppies. We burn a bunch of dead puppies for the.
There you go.
I'm not, of course, and there's nothing funny about dead puppies. I don't know why. What is wrong with me, Julie? You're supposed to.
I'm the one who laughed.
It's 6.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live.
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
I don't know what the list is up to now. She used to want to ban fracking, and now she doesn't want to ban fracking. She wanted to have a mandate where everybody moves toward electric vehicles. Now she claims she doesn't have that mandate on
She
electric
wanted
vehicles.
to get rid of private health insurance.
She wanted to get rid of private health insurance. Now she says she doesn't support getting rid of private health insurance. She wanted a mandatory gun buyback, which is the government confiscating certain guns that she thinks are icky.
She wanted a federal jobs
now
guarantee.
Now she claims she doesn't support that. What was the other one?
A
Sorry.
federal jobs guarantee. Now she claims she doesn't.
Now she does not support a federal jobs guarantee. She didn't used to support about abolition of taxes on tips. Now she says that she came up with the idea of taxes on tips.
Right.
And on and on and on. And again, in the political media, what was the headline of Politico that was just, this is one for the ages? Honestly, we're going to have a new wing in the Louvre to support this. The latest headline, hang on, I made note of it to make sure that I refer to it during the show today. Yeah, here it is. Vance tries to tether Harris to Biden during Michigan rally. Tries to tether Harris to Biden. Up until 6 weeks ago, it was the Biden-Harris campaign. It's the Biden-Harris administration. She's literally his vice president. Vance tries to tether Harris to Biden during the campaign. By the way, the Politico ended up getting a community note on that from the X platform. Can I just read the community note?
Yes, please do.
This is where readers add context and actually basically say, this is bull. Here's the truth. The headline states, J.D. Vance tries to tether Harris to Biden. Harris is currently Biden's vice president. And then there's a link to the White House administration website.
I mean, I've reached a point where I can't do anything but laugh about this anymore. It's so depressing. But I love that the community note includes her bio on the White House.
FYI, here's a link just in case you're not sure about who the vice president is right now. But and the reason I sort of talk about how the media is trying to run cover for her and say I can't believe they're trying to link her to Joe Biden is because literally 6 weeks ago it was the Biden-Harris campaign, and she was out there not just supporting every single thing that Joe Biden was supporting, which is a huge difference from what she's claiming her positions are right now, but she was also aiding and abetting the cover-up and great lie to the American people, the big lie that Joe Biden was completely physically and mentally competent to run for 4 more years.
Yeah. It's important. It's important not to only highlight her flip-flops, but this sort of how she's altering her bio. One other thing is, in addition to sort of running away from the Biden administration, she's suddenly claiming to be this tough prosecutor. She never was. She was a Soros type. She was letting these criminals out. She was, during the BLM protest, she was actually helping to fund some sort of GoFundMe page to get these guys out of jail. These BLM people who burnt cities down. Well, she was trying to get them out of jail.
And people who were accused of murder and rape, and then they went on to commit violent crimes afterwards. Yes, but now she's the tough prosecutor.
Yes.
The bottom line in all of this is that the headlines should, and I beg the Trump Vance people, because they're very good at messaging. They don't need my advice, but humbly I'll submit something, because to just constantly emphasizing that she's flip-flopping.
Yeah.
You're right. They should. That's part of the narrative here. But the problem is the underlying takeaway is, but the good news is she's flip-flopping to the center. She's moderating herself. So if she gets elected, she's nothing to be afraid of, because she's saying that she's going to do these things. So she's at least the system that we have in place is making her be more moderate. So when you say she flip-flopped on this, now she's taken all my policies. You're actually communicating exactly what the Kamala Harris people want you to communicate. Right. Don't do that. No, the message on all of this is she can't be trusted. We don't know what she believes. All she believes, her only guiding principle, is to say and do whatever she has to do to get power. And then once she's in power, you have no idea what she's going to do, because you can't trust her. That's what you need to convey. Because sadly, I'm afraid when you say, she's flip-flopped and now she's taken all of Trump's positions, some voters will say, wait a second, so we get Trump policies, but we don't get the mean tweets? Oh, well, okay. And I can be a part of history. Yay, joy, joy, electricity in the air. It's a black woman. Don't play that game. No, she can't be trusted. We have no idea who she is or what she believes or what she stands for. And if, God forbid, she gets power, there is no telling what she will do.
Now,
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
6:37 now. Coming up at 7:05, James Rosen will be here. He's the White House correspondent for the Newsmax, although he's sort of having an existential crisis since there's no president to cover at this point. Isn't that weird being a White House correspondent and there's no president? What do you do? Who's in charge? 7:35. Peter Schweitzer would like to know who paid for all of Tim Walz's trips to China. I think we deserve to know. 8:05. Brad Thor, brand new thriller for your late summer reading pleasure. And then at 8:35, Governor Scott Walker on a brand new movie about Ronald Reagan. Shocking, actually, that there haven't been more movies about Ronald Reagan. I think we all know why. I'm Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
And joining us right now is Cal Thomas. Cal, have you seen this Reagan movie? It looks like a banger. I'm seeing it this weekend, actually.
Yes, I think you'll like it. I did see it. Being a powerful member of the media, of course, I got an early link to it.
Yes,
the Washington Post this morning in its review doesn't like it. What a surprise.
Yeah.
They didn't like Reagan, so they're not going to like the movie about him. Breaking news. Dennis Quaid is such a good actor. They got hair and makeup. They make him look a little like Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
The movie opens, of course, with the attempted assassination scene outside the Washington Hilton. But it moves on from there. It goes through his childhood. It's almost like it is a biopic. And it's got the time in the hospital where he tells Nancy, I forgot to duck, and says to the surgeons, I hope you're all Republicans here. But it really focuses on his sincere effort to remove nuclear missiles and his negotiations with, Gorbachev. It's really a good film, and in the end, it treats the onset of Alzheimer's in a way that, unless you're a major Reagan hater, you're going to be in tears. It's very, very sweet. Highly recommended.
All right. What a great review, and thank you for that. Yeah, it is really remarkable to think about. We've had movies about every I feel, I guess we haven't had a Carter movie, but what do you actually focus on?
Well, I have signed a contract for a movie about me. I'm going to be played by Tom Selleck.
Oh, well, really?
I could see it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess the mustache makes sense there. All right. Did you see, Cal, that it's now been announced that Kamala Harris will, our long national nightmare is over. There will be an interview. But what message does it send that she can't actually handle this interview one-on-one, that she's
bring her
demanded
emotional
that her,
support.
her emotional support governor will be there, Tim Walz.
Yeah, he's her emotional support dog, no question. I think, all you have to do is go back and look at that video, which has now been resurrected on YouTube, of Tulsi Gabbard debating her in 2019. She wipes her out. She hits her on one point after another, and Harris just looks down at her podium and has nothing to say. She can't respond. The questions that Donna Bash ought to be asking on Thursday night, especially about the economy, you say one thing on one day out of great conviction, and now you just flip to the opposite. How do you do that? What kind of philosophy is behind that? Now, I've done a little digging here, and I don't know if you knew this. Her father, Harris's father, was a economics professor at Stanford University, and he wrote a book in 1978 that he dedicated to Kamala and her sister, in which he compares capitalism with Marxism. And guess which one he seems to prefer the most? So I would ask her about that. Do you agree with your father that Marxism is a good thing? You want to raise the taxes 39% for individuals? You want to tax unrealized capital gains? Is this a case of taking from the successful and subsidizing the unsuccessful? Those are the kinds of questions we want to hear the answers to. Yeah,
but we know that probably won't happen. It turns out that, they sort of shopped this around and they gave it to Donna Bash. We talked about this earlier. Larry sort of described it as he'd sit up all night wondering why in the world did they pick me, because they're obviously picking someone who's going to lob softballs at her or let her give these sort of long-winded word salad answers. Do you think Bash will ask any difficult questions? Do you think she will push back the way J.D. Vance has faced these sort of very difficult interviews with people like John Carl, or will it just be, like they're going to go have happy hour afterwards?
Well, I think that she has an opportunity to at least partially redeem the media suck-up to both of these people, Walz and Harris, and to demonstrate that she is a serious journalist. Or she could give in to her political biases. I mean, it's going to be hugely rated. Everybody's going to want to watch, and I'll certainly be watching, and I know you guys will too. So, if you're a real journalist, you got to ask the tough questions. This is about the presidency and vice presidency of the United States. If there's nothing more important, tell me.
One last thing, we just got a new round of indictments from Special Prosecutor Jack Smith, which surely will not be tried in any significant way between now and Election Day. And there always used to be this sort of rule that the Justice Department wouldn't do something like this 60 days out from Election Day. This very cute move here was 70 days out from Election Day. But that's not really in play anymore because we don't have an election day. We have election season. In some places, people will vote as early as, I think, September 10th, Cal. So, again, listen, none of these indictments have really hurt Donald Trump, but it is frustrating, angering, and frankly, quite concerning that the Justice Department continues to want to try to inject themselves into the conversation over this election coming up. I think the American people already are fully aware of who Donald Trump is. Why this move like this?
Well, I don't think there's any question, Larry. The weaponization of the Justice Department, a word that's been not overused, but used a lot. I mean, you hear Jonathan Turley talking about it on Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
They want to do everything they can, the left, the Democrats, to defeat Donald Trump. And, there may be many reasons for voting against him, but this is not one of them. This is going to go to the Supreme Court again, obviously, and the trial's not going to happen before the election.
No way, yeah.
And it's not even going to happen probably until after Inauguration Day, at which point, if Trump wins, he can order the Justice Department to drop the whole case. It's a lot of misspending of our money, but then that's nothing new.
Yeah, but they're using our money to affect the election.
That's right.
Against half of the voters in this country. It's they need to fix this. They need to fix it fast, and it takes.
Well, they do, Larry, and you said there are election seasons, but there's more than election season. It never stops. The day after the election, everybody's talking about the next one. It's really sad. We spend too much. We spend too much time. I kind of like the British system. You get something like a 4 or 5 week notice, and it's over.
Agreed. Oh, our founders. If our founders knew, 250 years later, that we would be this obsessed over who the president was, they may rethink the executive office. Thank you,
right.
Cal.
By the way, Larry, a moment ago you called me Shirley. Please don't do that.
Well, listen, I don't want to judge.
All right.
Do what you got to do, babe.
Bye.
Thanks, Cal. 644.
Mark Levin, weeknights from 6 till 9.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Let me help weave this narrative for you in a moment, because we have a new video showing Nancy Pelosi expressing grave concern over their failures, her office's failures with regard to security on the Capitol during the events of January 6th. There's video of her saying, we're calling the National Guard now. They should have been here to start out. We have totally failed. This reinforces another video that was released earlier of her in a limousine saying that. We're going to play the audio for you. It's a little hard to hear, but I want you to hear it. But I want to frame it this way. This isn't talked about much, but it needs to be. The American people need to be reminded of this all the time. In the book Shattered, there's a book called Shattered, which is a expose of the Hillary Clinton 2016 campaign. It was supposed to be this triumph of the first female president, and they were calling it Shattered because she shattered the glass ceiling, right?
Yeah.
But instead, Shattered has a different connotation because all those hopes and dreams have been shattered. Because Trump won the election. There is a passage in the book, and I implore you all to read it. I've written about it. Joel Pollack at Breitbart's written about it. It's in the public domain at this point. There is a passage in the book where John Podesta, Hillary Clinton, and their campaign manager meet after the loss to try to discuss what happened here. But really what the discussion is, what are we going to say? What's our story going to be? And they come up with the ideas, this was hijacked by Putin. This was the Russians. The Russians hacked us. Trump worked with the Russians. That's how we lost. The entire Russian collusion hoax was a cover story for their electoral failures. She didn't really lose.
Right. It was stolen from her.
Putin stole it from her and gave it to Trump. That's in the book. It's documented by the authors of that book, of Shattered, liberal reporters who had access to the Clinton campaign. It's in there. and I frame it this way. The Clinton campaign failed. They lost to Donald Trump, but they had to come up with a cover story to cover up their failures. And then that got picked up by the media, picked up by Democrats everywhere, picked up even by the FBI, and turned it into Robert Mueller's special investigation of Donald Trump, which, of course, proved that there was no Russian collusion ever. There never had been. But they needed a cover story to explain their failures and at the same time demonize Donald Trump and Republicans. Now let's go back to this audio. Here she is, Nancy Pelosi. This is contemporaneous video of her walking through the halls of the Capitol building.
Shot by her daughter.
Shot by her own daughter as she's leaving. You may have trouble hearing it, but go ahead and let's take a listen.
You have succeeded in stopping the validation of the presidency of the United States. How many times did the members ask, are we prepared?
So, again, because of the microphone, you hear the clicking of her very expensive heels on the concrete floor. But she says in there, we're calling the National Guard now. They should have been here to start out. We have totally failed. We need to take some responsibility for not moving to secure the Capitol. Now, as a reminder, listen, this was video that we had several months ago. Again, shot by her daughter. This is cut 6, please, Michael. January 6th.
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
No, there's not a question of how they have been. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
This is what they believed, and this is what Nancy Pelosi herself was saying.
This is in the heat of the moment.
At the moment.
Yep.
Within 24 hours, the narrative was insurrection, insurrection. Trump planned this. Trump led this. Everyone needs to go to jail.
Trump didn't call out the National Guard.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Trump did, exactly. Now, this new video that we have reinforces what obviously was going on there. Now, 1 month ago, Donald Trump sitting with an interview with Kristen Welker, strangely without an emotional support running mate with him. He can do a one-on-one interview with Kristen Welker. Remember this exchange?
Nancy Pelosi also Nancy Pelosi. I don't have. Why would I tell you that? Listen, Nancy Pelosi was in charge of security. She turned down 10,000 soldiers. If she didn't turn down the soldiers, you wouldn't have had January 6th.
Did you call military or law enforcement?
What?
Did you call military or law enforcement at the moment the Capitol was under attack? I'm not going to tell you anything.
So, again, this is Kristen Welker trying to lay the blame on Donald Trump. When we have evidence, we see everybody. The facts are the facts. But it doesn't matter when you're weaving a false narrative.
Well, really quickly, when Trump did call out the National Guard to protect some of our, like the Lincoln Memorial during the BLM protests, people went wild.
He was a fascist.
He was a fascist. I remember Megan McArdle was like, "This is such a horrible thing to see." So he would not have won that argument had he called out. He wasn't allowed to. Right. For the Capitol, because that was Nancy Pelosi's area. But
exactly, you don't want the president to have the authority to call in the National Guard
on the Capitol, right?
On the Capitol. And when Tom Cotton suggested maybe we need the National Guard to protect cities in Minneapolis and other cities, the New York Times editorial board was ready to quit because he would say such a thing during the Black Lives Matter movement. And here we have Nancy and Kristen Welker. Not only does she lack any curiosity about the truth or the facts, she doesn't even see it as her job to get to the truth. Right. Her job, and it truly is her job, is to just use her microphone and her platform as a weapon to stop Trump, despite the truth. That's why you don't watch NBC News. You come here. We will deliver the truth. Thank you, Kristen Welker, for allowing us that opportunity. It's 6:54.